Chudasama, Deepak Chudasama is the striker now. Well, there's one more for the total, so they're up with that required rate of 1 so far.
There's a knock away they would want, but they wouldn't be complaining when you're chasing a score of 300 plus. Doesn't matter how the early runs come about. And of course, when a bowler bowls it wide and away from the batsman, it also allows the batsman to gauge the speed, the bounce of the bowler, as well as what the wicket is doing.
The other aspect I'll be interested in with the Australians is to see how they can accommodate reverse swing here. I'm most impressed with Danny Morrison the other day when he bowled for New Zealand in the dying overs against England. That was a brilliant performance. And I'm very firmly of the opinion reverse swing will play a big part in this competition.
Yes, because the outfields in the subcontinent are not exactly lush green, so the ball does wear off very quickly.
Well, that's a good example of the bumpy outfield. Whatever problems the Kenyan players had with the bumps in the outfield, it'll be just as bad for the Australians. Paul Rifle gauged that nicely.
Yes, truly, you have to put your body behind the ball on Indian outfields if you expect the ball to roll along the ground nice and easy. That's not going to be the case. Occasionally, you do need a chest pad.
Healy was moving down the leg side. On the replay, you might also see that the ball wasn't all that far away from leg stump. It didn't swing in from leg to off at all.
Just McDermott is trying to get that outswinger right, but the batsman is also shuffling across a fair bit. In fact, he's going way outside the off stump when he's about to face the ball. So there's every possibility of there being a leg before decision.
Well, that's the sort of feeling they need. Dupont against the band, renowned around Australia as one of the finest fielders in the game.
Well, Deepak Chudasama doesn't take too long to get going. We saw him take charge against the Indian attack, going down the wicket to the Indian new ball bowlers.
That's quite a chase for the man at third man. Just wrong-footed McGrath a bit. If he did have any real intention of producing the slide, and it's 8 for no wicket. No wicket. Otieno Dutchet off the mark. Chudasama is on 5. Still to come, Tikolo, Okumbe, Modi, Asif Karim, the left-hander, who may have to have a runner. Got a knee problem out there. Now it's Paul Rifle. Almost. Talking about reverse swing, the odds are there won't be very much ordinary swing out there, so the reverse is the only time we'll see it moving in the air.
Paul Rifle is very accurate, not express, not the quickest ball in the world, but very accurate, very hard to get away.
Evans, the man just lurking around square leg. Just a bit there.
That shuffle from Otieno, taking him onto the off stump, and then he's playing well outside the off stump, following the ball. Paul Rifles not going to mind at all.
Good stroke. Right up in the slot, and he gave it exactly what it deserved. Otieno goes to 4.
Must be very comforting to get that ball right in the middle of the bat. Very, very good for the confidence. Goes nicely into position.
Watching the Kenyan players the other day, they looked pretty good to me with the bat. Some lovely stroke players, very wristy players.
Yes, I think a lot of the Kenyan players are a bit like players on the subcontinent, very wristy. They are of, some of the players are of Asian stock. Otieno is not exactly a wristy player, but he does like to thump the ball.
12 for no wicket after 2 overs. Chudasama 5. Chudasama has strike at the moment. McDermott didn't get a bat when the Australians were in. Ian Healy and Stuart Law were the 2 dismissed right at the death of the innings. Rifle and Warren remained not out.
Chudasama is a go-getter. He wants to get after the bowling. Probably takes just one ball to get his eye in. No relation of Nana Chudasama, the former sheriff of Mumbai.
That's beautifully bowled. No one said, well, no one was going to do anything about it. Well, the Australians in the end had to turn around for the appeal, and Chudasama eventually had a quick glance at Cyril Mitchley. It was just as well he did, otherwise it might have gone on for a long time out there. He's caught by Healy, a good diving catch away to his right, and McDermott has struck the first blow.
Yes, a good delivery, and Chudasama for a moment was doing a bit like what Srikanth does when he hits a boundary, mind you. Walks away to square leg. That's the first Kenyan wicket. Cyril Mitchley declaring Deepak Chudasama caught Healy ball McDermott. Kenya 12 for 1.
What do you want, Steve?
12 for 1. Stephen Tikolo comes out to take the place of Chudasama, caught by Healy off McDermott. Target is 305, mainly because of Mark Waugh and Steve Waugh, who shared a magnificent partnership. This is the way McDermott claimed the first Australian wicket in this World Cup.
Well, a perfectly pitched outswinger, opening up Deepak Chudasama, squaring him as he tried to get a bat on it. He only managed to get a faint nick, and Healy had to dive low down. Gives you an indication of the bounce in the wicket, which is simply not there.
Mark Waugh and Steve Waugh shared a record partnership for World Cup cricket out there today. Brilliant performance.
Yes, it was tremendous batsmanship. Steve Waugh came in when Australia had lost 2 quick wickets, so there was a bit of pressure there. But once they got their eye in, they really toyed with the Kenyan bowling.
Good shot. The sort of stroke they were playing in their match against India the other day, and it's taken them now on to 16 for 1. The very, very thick edge. Wind squall has played a bit of havoc up the far end. Much point in having a white sight screen with a white ball, although the sight screen attendant seems to think that's all right. David Shepherd is there might be a little problem. Shepherd's immovable by nature and physically as well, but an outstanding umpire. Good cricketer too, a very happy cricketer when he played county cricket in England. They're saying wait till next over.
Not really surprised at what's happened with the side screen. We saw the opening ceremony. The winds affected the opening ceremony, or so we were told. The wind's now affecting the side screen from coming down. But the batsmen are not unduly bothered because the bowler's arm will be adequately covered by the screen.
He's going to fix it now just as Rifle's coming into bowl. Got the leg cutter going as well.
Otieno still fishing in troubled waters. Moving to the off stump. His initial movement is back and across to the off stump. And then the front foot, the left foot, goes even further away. So he ends up playing somewhere on the 7th or the 8th stump. There you see Otieno's initial movement as the bowler is about to bowl. That back foot going out towards the off stump. And when the ball is pitched on or just outside the off stump, he reaches for it.
Ball called. There have been two no balls and a wide so far from the Australians. Not a bad crowd in for the moment. certainly many more than were here at the start of play, and 4 overs later, when some of us arrived. But, they've streamed through the turnstiles now. It's by no means a full house, but quite a good crowd, considering there's no Indian player on the field.
They've probably come to watch Shane Warne in action. Shane Warne is as big a star as Tendulkar or Lara. And I think Shane Warne will enjoy bowling on this wicket, because we saw the Kenyan bowlers get a bit of turn.
Very brave thing to do, to charge an opening bowler.
But they're well protected nowadays, Richie. So even if the ball is pinged in short, they can take it.
Well, that's a cracker. Batsman didn't do much wrong there. It's 17 for 1. Excuse me, I mentioned earlier that he may need a runner. He was the one who went down, damage to his knee, and then he still bowled 3 overs. But Doyo and the other Adumbe. .287 needed from 45.5, so it's a tough assignment. We don't know just how good these Kenyan batsmen are, but they've got their chance today. What we do know is the ones we've seen so far seem to have a pretty good method. Whether that can be moved on to make a lot of runs is another matter, but the method seems okay. In their match against India, Chidasama made 29, Otieno 27, and Stephen Tikolo 65. So all in the runs. And Morris Adumbe, the skipper, at 26. They ran out of time, 6 for 199 against a big score from India, who came along and won by 7 wickets. Sachin Tendulkar, Sonny. Saw him the other night, and I saw at least 2 shots, I reckon, won't be bettered in the whole of the World Cup. And that was the first time I've seen him for quite a while. He made 100 against Australia in Sydney a few years ago. We haven't seen him again out there.
Yes, he's developed considerably since then. Mind you, he had a very, very good series in Australia in '91. He got 200s there. But he's come on, and he's now the top, well, at least among the top batsmen in the world. I think there is really no question that Mark Waugh, Brian Lara, and Sachin Tendulkar are the top batsmen in the world today. Not just for the consistency that they display, but also because they have that ability to hit the good ball for runs.
He's gone, or if he's not gone, he's going. And calf muscles come against him again. He pulled up short the last delivery when he was in his follow-through. And he's pulled up short again.
Well, at the end of the first over itself, Craig McDermott, that last ball that he bowled in the first over, he seemed to have pulled up a little bit. The follow-through was a lot longer. And now you can actually see he's struggling to get to the wicket. And from the Australian point of view, it might be an idea for him to go off, get it treated. They are defending a pretty formidable score, 304.
19 for 1.
That's the over.
Bring on the 12th man. There's the sad side of Craig McDermott on his way out. Not many games to play in this World Cup competition. Mark Taylor is going to be there with half a raised eyebrow at the moment, wondering what that's going to do to his attack. McGrath who'll have to carry the pace attack now that McDermott is gone. Michael Slater, opening batsman and television commentator, is on the field in place of Craig McDermott. Australians started very slowly. Each of the teams lost one wicket at this stage.
Otieno getting just a little bit frustrated there, trying to throw Paul Rifle off his length, giving him the charge. It's a lot better than playing him missing outside the off stump.
Just looking forward to the India-Australia clash coming up shortly. What about Anil Kumble?
Yes, Anil Kumble has not been talked about as much as Sachin Tendulkar from the Indian point of view. Everybody seems to be talking about Sachin Tendulkar, and of course Sachin Tendulkar is the one around whom the Indian batting revolves. But if the Indian team has to defend the score or get the opposition out cheaply, they will be relying mainly on Anil Kumble.
Wide call, so there's still 2 to go in this over. I thoroughly enjoyed watching Kumble bowl the other evening against West Indies. He looked very good. I was delighted by the way he removed Roland Holder, although Holder wouldn't have been, but it was the sort of wicket that didn't quite make old leg spinners drool, but it's towards the drooling situation.
Yes, also the way he got Roger Harper out, firing that delivery quickly at Yorker length, shows the development that he's made. Anil Kumble has certainly had a tremendous season, and he's grown from strength to strength, and There you see Sri Lanka with those 4 fishes, 6 points. India just behind them with 4. West Indies have won 1 game, so they have 2. Kenya and Zimbabwe have not won anything, and Australia are on their way to registering their first victory, so they'll be 2 points perhaps by the end of this match.
It's 20 for 1. Taken the 1 wicket, that of Chudasama, also for 5. Scored 20 for 1. It's going to be Glenn McGrath. 3.33 the rate. They're now up to, well, they're on the way to 7 as the asking rate. Glenn McGrath, already, even though he's not in Australia, it's Glenn McGrath. It shows power of television through ESPN down through Singapore and into India and Pakistan and all other countries. Glenn McGrath was something produced in the past season out there, and it's found its way to Vizag as well, Sonny. A little more tuneful than the Australians.
Yes, the power of television reaches a fair distance, and the Indians, of course, love to watch cricket wherever it is played. We're certainly tuned in and watching the matches all over the world. Missed the matches in South Africa, didn't get much coverage of that, but there was coverage of the matches in Australia.
Get a wide for that as well, yep. Both these umpires have been quite severe on the close calls for wides, but that is terrific. If you know what they're going to do, then there are no complaints. McGrath didn't even turn his head there, although that was actually quite close to the batsman. They know that these umpires will call it if it is posing a problem for the batsman. David Shepherd's the other umpire. Very fetching headgear. Nice stroke. Quite deliberately guided away there, and not just off an edge either. Good shot.
The real time to dive would be if Kenya are about 5 or 10 runs away and have just an over left. At this point of time, the outfield's too rough to try and dive. And the rough outfield also means that the ball is really going to travel. Didn't give much of a chance to that fielder at third man.
Not all that often you get a ball going over the top, but I reckon that one might have. The pitch is not allowing much bounce.
McGrath just does come from a height, and that would have helped the ball to bounce a little bit more. And although Otieno was not quite forward, the ball would have gone over the stumps.
We were talking a little earlier about the Australia-India clash coming up in Mumbai later in this tournament, and the other bowler for India I found impressive was Javagal Srinath. He looks to be improving all the time. Pace bowler. Done very well recently and looked good. Nice stroke again. 27 for 1 in Kenya.
Thanks, Richie. Looking forward to seeing a bit of Steve Piccolo. Heard a lot about him. 1 or Two of the Australian journalists took the opportunity to go and watch the finals of the ICC trophy matches being played in Africa. That was when the Australian side were touring South Africa in 1994. And they came back with glowing reports of Steve Tikolo. So I'm really looking forward to seeing a bit of him. I'm impressed with Chudasama, who unfortunately for Kenya's sake is now out. Tikolo batting in the number 3 spot has the opportunity to post a decent score.
Lots of Indians, Ian, go to Kenya to play club cricket, and they're sure in their mind that Steve Tikolo can bat. He gets into a good position and scores freely on either side of the wicket. And the feature of this Kenyan team so far has been that their cricket fundamentals are solid, so they can look forward to a bright future.
Beats the outside edge quite a lot. Paul Rifle. As yet, no result for him.
It's particularly dangerous when he gets the ball to move away from the batsman, like he does here, because the first reaction of the batsman is to look for something that comes into him when Paul Rifle is bowling. Very accurate, always in that corridor of uncertainty.
A lot of bounce there for Paul Rifle. Ian Healy taking that ball well up above waist height. Pretty well run. Paul Rifle getting a hand on it, taking quite a lot of the pace off.
Well, not quite getting hold of it, Otieno there, but even in the game against India, we saw the Kenyans always on the lookout for singles and putting pressure on the fielders. Good tactics, especially when boundaries are hard to come by.
That's a very good over from Paul Rifle. It's 28 for 1. Craig McDermott picking up the wicket for Australia. Bad news for Australia is that he's limped off the ground not long after taking that wicket. Craig McDermott, who's had a history of injury on tour. In England it was an illness and perhaps the result of a bit of incorrect surgery that caused him a problem. He had to go home very early on that tour. And then in South Africa, right near the end of the tour, he had to go home. The West Indies had shoulder problems, had to go home from the Caribbean before a test match had been played. In fact, it was his ankle. He had some shoulder problems early in the tour, and then he jumped off the sea wall at Guyana, landed the wrong way on a rock and twisted his ankle. So let's hope it's not as serious this time.
Well, he certainly has missed a few farewell parties because the Australians have been successful both in England and in the West Indies. This really will be a big blow to Australia because he was one of the mainstays of the Australian attack in the World Cup in '87.
Yeah, That's the difference between the present-day quickies and the old-timers. We didn't send Dennis Lilly home from the Caribbean when he broke down, and he stayed for all the parties. McDermott did have one success before he limped off the ground, getting rid of Udasama.
It really was a beautiful delivery. Moved late, opened up the batsman, and a very good catch by the reliable Ian Healy.
McGrath just a bit too quick there for Colo.
Again, that extra bit of bounce there for Glenn McGrath. In fact, on that occasion, Otieno played over the ball. Glenn McGrath certainly has improved in the last couple of seasons. He came here with Rodney Marsh, with the Australian Cricket Academy team.
Inside edge there. McGrath quite quick. And it looks as though he's getting a little bit of bounce out of this pitch. In fact, appears to be a pretty good cricket wicket. Obviously, we didn't get the chance to have a look at the pitch before the game, having arrived a bit late at the ground. But there's been some quite good bounce and a little bit of movement for the quickies. Apart from the fact that it's very hot and humid, I'm sure the faster bowlers would be quite enjoying their work out there. Pretty well run, 30 for 1. Chudasama is the man out. Port Healy bowled McDermott for 5. Kenya 30 for 1 after 9 overs. They needed to score at 6.1 per over when they started the innings. That's going up all the time. Beautifully hit and well caught. Ricky Ponting at point there, taking a magnificent catch. Batsman's a bit unlucky there, Steve DiColo. He hit that right off the middle like a rocket. But equally so, Ricky Ponting got it in the middle of his hands.
Well, Steve DiColo must be wondering what wrong he's done here. He really smashes the shot delivery from Paul Rifle. And have a look at Ricky Ponting. Fully stretched to his right and pulls off a magnificent catch. 30 for 2, Kenya.
Morris Odumbi, the captain of the Kenyan side, is batting in the number 4 spot. This is his second World Cup match, having made 26 against India at Cuttack. Oh, and he starts very confidently. What a shot to get off the mark.
This really is a glorious cover drive from Morris Odumbe. You wouldn't have seen too many better shots played all day today. On the up through extra cover.
Well, we saw Otis Gibson in the match against India at Gwalior start with a 6, but there's not been a more confident start than that. First ball, that one was. I think Otis Gibson at least had a look at a couple before he whacked the 6. Magnificent shot from Odumbi, particularly when you consider that he'd come in with a bowl at Paul Rifle just having taken a wicket.
Ricky Ponting, who pulled off that magnificent catch. Really was hit hard by Steve DiColo. The only mistake, he hit it in the air. And how's that for a catch?
Took it a little bit like a wicketkeeper there at point, Ricky Ponting, the way he had his hands. Glenn McGrath has no chance of third man. So Dumby starting in very aggressive fashion.
Well, after the fall of Tikolo's wicket, 10 runs have come for Maurice Odumbe in 3 deliveries, getting the thickish outside edge there. The man at third man was too square to be able to stop that shot. In fact, on second look, he may have just opened his face of the blade at the very last moment. But important runs these for Kenya. They're chasing a huge score.
2 wickets down for Kenya. Craig McDermott having taken the first wicket, and we've just got news from the dressing room that McDermott is suffering from a torn calf muscle and is very doubtful for the next game. Australia's next game being against India in Bombay. That should be a tremendous contest, Ravi.
Certainly would be, Ian, because both teams have played very good cricket over the last year. Indians have a very fine record at home, and I'm sure the Mumbai crowd would be in for some terrific cricket.
As viewers in Australia will note that it's being played in Mumbai. That is the name that Bombay was originally called by, and now they've gone back to that original name. Wankhede Stadium, Ravi, I'm not used to that one. I played way back in the dim dark ages at Brabourne. What will that stadium be like? Good atmosphere?
Electrifying atmosphere. It has a capacity of about 40,000 people. It's not far from the ground where you played in the end. It's just about 200 yards away. That's rather unfortunate, but it's a very good ground as well.
Lovely shot, but Ricky Ponting is in the way again. Kenya 40 for 2. Chudasama and Steve Tikolo, the 2 men back in the pavilion for Kenya. Maurice Odumbe is making all the running for Kenya since he came out to bat, timing the ball very nicely. That's what places Kenya a further 265 of virtually 40 overs. That required rate has been pushed up to 6.65. It started at 6.1. They tell me some people like the change to Mumbai and others not so keen on it. They like the old terminology of Bombay, Ravi.
Well, even if they like it, Ian, they have to start getting used to the new name, because that's what it's going to be called. And obviously, the government in power at the moment prefer it that way.
Just into the gap, giving Shane Warne quite a chase.
Not timing it as well as he would have liked, Otieno there, but still managing to find the gap.
Brings Maurice Odumbe on to strike for the 3rd time against Glenn McGrath. Maurice Odumbe had quite a bit to say about the selection of the Kenyan side. There were a few changes in the team from the one which actually won the ICC Nations Trophy. In fact, they didn't win it. UAE won it. They beat Kenya in the final, but there were a few changes made to that team. Maurice Odumbe, the captain, was a bit outspoken about some of those changes.
Certainly seems he's come out with the intention of having a go at everything. Not quite there in the slot to play that shot.
That's a nice shot. Picked it well. It's 47 for 2. Change it very quickly, hit a magnificent boundary to start his innings, and smacked his third boundary in that last over, and he crashed Glenn McGrath's slower ball over cover. Kenya a little bit unlucky in that they are in Group A, so they don't get the opportunity to play one of the other ICC associate countries. They'll be playing all fully fledged test nations. And Steve Waugh is welcome to the crease with a magnificent cover drive. So the Kenyans really starting to play the ball.
One thing is pretty certain about these Kenyans, they don't hold back. If the ball is up, it's going to go. And this really is a glorious cover drive from Otieno this time to bring up the Kenyan 50. 51 for 2 at this stage.
Yes, in Group B, Holland and UAE are the two ICC associate countries, so at least they get the opportunity to have a scrap, and one of them obviously will come out victors unless there's a washout. Even then, there is the opportunity to, with a reserve day for all these matches. So at least they will get to have a scrap on fairly even terms. Kenya will be basically fighting out of their weight in all their matches.
Maybe catch the cover.
It's nice to see Steve Waugh bowling again. He's had his injury problems over the last couple of years, which took him away from the bowling crease. Certainly is a very good man for the Australians, if fully fit and allowed to bowl.
You need to be careful as the favourites in these sort of games, the Australian bowlers. I can remember when we played Sri Lanka in the 1975 World Cup, and they were not a test nation then. Australia made a big score around 330, I think, and we sort of, being gentlemen, thought, oh, we'll pitch the ball up. And they whacked it all over the park, the Sri Lankans. I remember saying to Jeff Thompson, well, we've seen that these blokes can play off the front foot. Let's have a look and see if they can play off the back foot. And unfortunately, a couple of overs later, 3 of them were in hospital, one of them being the present manager, Duleep Mendes.
That's right, yeah, and I remember someone asking Tomo in Colombo last year. Come back to that next over.
It's 52 for 2. Kenya making a bit of a move here in Vizag. Since the arrival of Morris Odumbi, the skipper, that run rate has jumped. It's now at 4.33 per over. Although the batsmen have had a bit of trouble getting hold of Glenn McGrath.
Well, yes, Ian, coming back to that 1975 game when you asked Homo to find out whether the Sri Lankans could play off the back foot. It was in Colombo last year when someone asked Tomo in the bar, what was one of your best one-day performances? And he said 10 overs in the 1975 World Cup game against Sri Lanka, 1 for 21. So that man asked him for whatever. So he said, no, there were 3 blokes in hospital. So actually, it should have been 4 for 21. So the Australians and the Sri Lankans playing it hard out there 21 years ago, and the same thing's happening in 1996 as well.
I should add, to be fair to Tomo, that one of the blokes that he put in hospital was because he hit him 3 times in a row on the same toe with the old sandshoe crusher. So I don't think you can really blame the bowler for that. It was just a magnificent piece of accurate bowling by Jeffrey Robert. Unfortunately, with Dulip Mendes, it was just short of a length, and Dulip only been very short. It hit him right between the eyes, but he was okay. I think the other bloke was Siddharth Wethamuni, who is, I think he's involved on the technical committee of this competition. This competition being shared, the administration being shared by the 3 countries, India, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, shortened to PILCOM. And Siddharth Wethamuni is one of the Sri Lankan representatives on that technical committee, along with our own Sunil Gavaskar. Chance. Warren misses the stumps.
Well, Shane Warne will play his part later on in the innings. And the crowd here really looking forward to seeing him bowl. He's been the spirit of the Australian attack for the last 3 years. And really has been a wonderful sight to watch.
Hit on the rise, Shane Warne won't get it. 58 for 2. Kenya moving to 58 for 2 and doing it quite confidently with Atieno and Morris Ojumbi playing some very good shots here. Australian bowlers being attacked wherever possible. Steve Waugh is now bowling at the last ball of last over from Glenn McGrath. That's a very good shot. It was hit on the rise, nowhere near a half volley. Certainly playing some good shots. I'm sure that's what Glenn McGrath just said to the batsman. Good shot, son. Well, it's a good idea to encourage the younger cricket-playing nations. In the commentary position now, Richie Benaud and Tony Greig.
Thanks, Ian. Yes, well, certainly one of the Kenyan best batsmen out there at the moment. Morris Ojumbi has a big reputation, and he's living up to it so far. Not out 16, and so far he's only faced 15 balls. Steve Waugh, the bowler. His footwork is good, tends to get back and across, and one thing is for sure, if it's up there, he's going to have a go at it. Tends to drive beautifully, doesn't mind hitting it in the air on the offside either. So, 2 wickets down, 60 on the board. Long way to go, though. One pitched up on leg stump. Oh, look at that, down the wicket he goes, tries to flick it away. Warne doing pretty well there. No, it's not. It's Slater doing pretty well, picking that one up on the bounce. This outfield is quite rough. A little wander down there during the break between innings when it's rough. Oh, that's magnificent. That's the shot I was talking about. If it's up there, he loves going inside out over the top. That takes his score on to 20, and he's only faced 18 balls.
So we might have a decent afternoon here. Steve Waugh's slower ball, which has confused plenty of batsmen around the world, produced no confusion there. It was beautifully struck away.
Again, blasting that one through the offside. That's another boundary. Beautifully played. Morris Ojumbi is playing a little gem of an innings. That's his 5th boundary. That's also the end of the over. 68 for 2. Glenn McGrath continuing. That one's nudged down to third man. Otieno just settles for 1. That gives Morris O'Dumbe the strike again. Well, he certainly is hitting that ball beautifully. Hitting through the ball. That's important in these conditions. This is a slowish pitch. And that's what I mean. Hitting through the ball and really standing up too as he hit that one. Lovely shot. He's a good player. Now pictures going right throughout India, Pakistan and Sri Lanka via Star TV. The Sky are taking these pictures in the UK and the SABC in South Africa. The Nine Network in Australia. And that one's bounced and gone for 4. That's 6 fours. Well, as a thick edge, it went down, didn't carry to the keeper. And went for 4 easily.
He could become one of the most popular players in the World Cup. Morris O'Dumbe. That one was edgy. There was nothing quite deliberate about it. He was trying to force it a bit squarer than that. But there's no slip in. Taylor's gone for the man at short mid wicket and one at short extra cover. No slip catcher.
Well, I think that may just have touched the stumps. Well, if it is, it's his day. Yeah, he's kissed the bails. I reckon he believes this is his day. Just let's watch this ball then. Roll back. See if we can pick it up, rolling onto the stumps. It certainly did. Hit the middle stump, in fact. Not many players go out to bat and have the ball hit the middle stump and still stay in.
It was beautifully bowled by McGrath as well. Just about the perfect Yorker. Most times you'll see those bails fall. Sometimes they shiver a bit.
Yes, that was the little kiss he gave the middle stump. As we mentioned, these pictures going back to Australia through the Nine Network and also down to New Zealand through TVNZ. So the world is taking the cricket from India. Morris O'Dumbe playing a jacker of an innings. Oh, and that one short. It's hit him just above the thigh pad. Or was it on the arm? And he's got leg byes.
McGrath's been the only bowler to get any bounce out of this pitch so far. So there's not much point in bowling short on it. It was a perfectly authentic stroke. Perhaps he didn't get up quite as much as he thought. Strong batting lineup, the Kenyans. And I was saying earlier that we know their method's good. We don't know how many runs they'll make. Their method is fine.
Very well bowled. 6 runs off that over. That last ball right up in the block hole. It was nicely played. His turn now. This is his first bowl in this World Cup. And it's going to be interesting to see how he goes. No doubt that he'll turn it. Richie Benaud earlier today was talking about the fact that he may well be required to put a little bit of extra side spin on the ball in these conditions. He's out there confronting the best player from Kenya, who's so far absolutely got stuck into everything. And Morris O'Dumbe is the best player in this Kenyan side. He, along with Steve Tikolo. Steve Tikolo's out, but Kennedy Otieno is out there as well. So it's Morris O'Dumbe now. He's going to be facing Warne, and it's going to be very interesting to see how he goes. Giving himself a nice loosener out there. We've in fact heard that he needs about 10 balls these days to get his fingers loosened up. He's got that one away nicely and fine as well.
Quite a good breeze for Shane Warne to bowl into. It was coming pretty much across the ground earlier in the day when the breeze freshened. It looks like a sea breeze that's come in. So Warner's bowling just about straight into it now. The ball might drift a little towards the leg stump before spinning back. I doubt if there'll be all that much turn there. The left-arm spinner for Kenya, Asif Karim, turned the ball, and the haste with which the batsman went back meant that there was one short signal. The scorers have recognised that. One taken off the score now, and Warne about to bowl his third ball.
Certainly drifted in quite a long way, so it's going to take him just a few balls to get himself sorted out. That drift taking the ball down the leg side, and the leg bicycle.
He has a field set that doesn't really lend itself to having the ball starting on about middle and then drifting down outside leg. He's got a man at deep mid wicket, one at deep backward square, and two others in the circle.
Better. That's his line. He'll start settling in around about there. Then he'll start manipulating the spin a little bit and flicking in different deliveries. This is our spin camera. You can see that one drifting in a long way there and turning back on the line. Sweet shot. And just one. The end of Warren's first over, 80 for 2.
Steve Warne switched ends now. He started off bowling into the breeze. Now he's going to bowl with it with Shane Warne coming up into it, having bowled his first over. The run rate at the moment is 5 and over. They're doing nothing wrong. They've lost a couple of wickets. But these two batsmen are scoring very quickly. They're well ahead of what the Australians were at the same stage.
Steve Waugh from the other end. It'll be interesting to see whether he can quieten them down a little bit, or more importantly, get a wicket. That's the way to quieten them down. Morris O'Dombey is on strike. They've got a man back at deep mid off, but he likes to hit the ball over extra cover. So Stephen Waugh. Just a bit quicker. Well, this is the situation so far for the Kenyans. Two batsmen out so far. Dipak Chudasima was the first man to go. He was out, caught behind. That ball actually moved away off the wicket just a little bit. Hit the outside edge, and it was nicely taken by Healy. You can hear the big nick there, and Dipak Chudasima out, caught behind. He'd be very disappointed with that. Cut away. Yes, Steve Tickolo, the other classy player in this Kenyan side, was out caught by Ponting with the bowling of Rifle. This was a fantastic catch. Watch him go here. He got in the air early on in the piece there and took it no trouble at all. He's a fantastic fieldsman, so Ponting getting into the action. Just slanting in a little bit and, well, wanted one. But you'd have to be very careful with Bevan hovering around that umpire there. Perhaps he doesn't know much about Bevan's prowess as a fielder. But watch him move.
They've got Bevan running towards the ball with his correct hand as well. That's doubly dangerous. Sometimes he lurks behind a square leg umpire, sometimes just in front, and he's in front now. So if he's coming on the angle to feel something plays through mid-wicket, he's got the chance of picking it up and spraying down the stumps at the bowler's end.
delivery from Stephen Waugh, angling the ball back in from this end. He'll mix it up. That's his way. If it's not swinging around too much, he'll change his pace a lot. He's got 2 or 3 variations of his slower ball. Bowls a leg cutter as well. So at the moment, just lifting it back a little bit. 1 run off that over. A tidy over. 81 for 2. Equal rights, very definitely the order of the day here in this part of India. The ladies out there doing the right thing by the roller. Now, not often you see that around the world. They take charge of the roller, and it's a pretty big roller at that. Wearing those lovely colourful saris.
It is a delightfully old-fashioned way of rolling the pitch, but that's the way it used to be done many years ago. There were no motorised rollers way back when, say, for example, Bradman played. They had a horse pulling a roller occasionally, and other times they had human beings. So this is exactly the way it was done then. And they cut the pitch by hand as well. If you're a good seamstress, you've got a chance of getting a job in some parts of the world as part-time groundsman.
Ball.
Doesn't seem to be much difference with Warren today compared with the way he bowled in Australia with his style. He has had a bit of a finger problem, spinning finger, just recently. Had a lot of cortisone treatment.
Now, for the benefit of our viewers overseas, the question is she married or isn't she? That little dot between her eyes there indicates not that she's married, but that's decoration. And that's called a bindi. We'll come back to that in a second. It's 85 for 2. Shastri, that's decoration if it's between your eyes. That doesn't mean to say you're not married, though. But if you've got any markings up by the hairline on the forehead, that definitely means you're married. The ring is also used by the more religious people. You can see just in the path of her hair there, she's got a little dot. So she's married, and she's got some nice decoration on as well. And there are some really lovely colour schemes. The saris really look lovely. And cool, what's more, in these conditions especially. Oh, and that one's going miles. They've come back for 2. And they've got another 2. So it looks as if it was Shane Lee who's on there for McDermott at the moment, who slipped up. Let's have another look at it.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the idea of trying to run him out. It's just a question of the positioning of the stumps. In relation to the ball, he has a very powerful arm, Shane Lee. Steve Waugh was only minimally interested in going for that.
Back for the second. The Indians seem to be supporting these Kenyans around the country. They obviously are going for the underdog. Otieno is 35 now of 66 balls. No, Dumbe is 35 off 32 balls.
A little bit of, not acting out there, but a bit of body language from Steve Waugh across to Shane Lee, who made his second throw very gently, still well over the stumps, and then across to Mark Taylor. And Steve Waugh was at Mark Taylor to make some sort of a change out there to bring Shane Lee in. Instead, Taylor has gone out about, well, probably 6-7 yards, so that he's out of a catching position, theoretically, but he can cut off the single.
He's had a go. This one is high in the air. It's going to land safely. They seem to me to love hitting it over the offside. 62 runs off 59 deliveries, the partnership. And that's the slower one. It's a big gap at extra cover. Quicker delivery and nicely played. 7 runs from that over, 92 for 2. So Shane Warne about to continue with these leg spinners. Otieno on strike. It's watchfully played. I think Warne has decided now to change his line a little bit. He's been a bit too straight, no doubt about that. He might just shift it across to the offside a little bit. Got a sweeper there, and there's a mid-off as well. Shane Warne, right arm over the wicket. See if we can pick some spin here from Warne. Oh, that's nicely taken, going for the cut shot.
That's well bowled. Warne concentrated a lot on that ball during the summer. Not quite a straight out flipper, but it certainly zipped off.
That's nicely played, just dabbed away. It's going to be running away down towards the fence, but it'll be cut off. And Bevan, the fieldsman.
I'm hoping with this competition that Warne will start experimenting with bowling a slightly slower flipper. When he bowled in Australia this year was quick enough that the batsman could recognise what it was. They still had to play it, mind you.
Ball, Shane.
He does bowl a very good top spinner as well, which was that one, the over spinner. Ball that gets him a little bit of extra bounce on a pitch that's at all responsive.
Oh, well bowled. That's beaten the outside edge. So he's beginning to settle down now. 2 runs off that over, 94 for 2. So 94 for 2 the score. Those are the batsmen out so far for 5 and 6. This partnership looking good at the moment. Stephen Waugh is going to continue. No, he's not. He's going to have to go back and start again. In the commentary box, it's going to be Ravi Shastri and Ian Chappell.
Thank you, Tony. A good partnership here developing between these two batsmen, Odumbe and Otieno. Steve Waugh to continue, Odumbe in strike. And Maurice Odumbe has not hesitated in playing his shot. Right from the very beginning, he's given the ball a thump. On this occasion, a brilliant piece of fielding again by Mark Waugh. Played again away on the onside. Will get only a single this time. And this so far has been a very impressive performance by the Kenyans, Ian.
Yes, it has. The Australian bowlers certainly haven't had it all their own way. I think the bowlers probably need the match conditions more so than the batsmen. Batsmen can adjust fairly quickly.
And there again, they've been very strong on anything pitched around the leg stump. This partnership scoring virtually a run a ball, 66 so far. And they've played 69 balls they've taken for that. It gives you a clear indication of how they've dominated this Australian attack. Down the track comes Odumbe, but Steve Waugh gets the pace off. Restricting the batsman to only a single.
The bowlers, I think, would appreciate playing in a match and getting back into match fitness for starters, and also adjusting their line and length to the different batsmen. That's the only place you can really do that is out in the middle.
Beautifully bowled right up there in the block hole. That's one of his specialities, Steve Waugh. He varies his pace.
Yes, he came back to bowling with a vengeance in the last Test match in Australia, Adelaide Oval, and he got the ball to swing a little bit. I think that would have been encouraging for Mark Taylor and the team.
Nicely played again on the offside, only for a single. 98 for 2, Kenya. 37 of only 36 balls, but Otieno with him has stayed right from the very beginning and given him good support. Warren now to continue.
Shane Warne is another one who I'm sure will be enjoying these match conditions. He started out he's bowling into the breeze, and he was drifting the ball quite a long way, perhaps just drifting a bit too far down leg side. But because he is such a good bowler, he's adjusted his line quickly. He's adjusted to the breeze, bowling good line now.
Ball, Shane.
That's right, Ian. When he did start, the breeze was blowing very strongly across the ground. As you see the television monitor from left to right on the television monitor, and that's why the ball was angled towards leg stump. But it's changed a bit now, and Shane Warne's finding his line right.
It is one of the things that makes him a difficult customer, that curve that he gets in the air. And obviously, he doesn't want it sliding too far down leg side. About middle and leg is the ideal for Shane Warne if he's getting a bit of turn.
Well, that's nicely played. Should get 4 runs for this. And 100 up for Kenya with that boundary. Shane Warne had a man in there at slip, but the ball was played wide of him, and the Kenyan 100 up in the 21st over.
Flipper from Shane Warne doesn't hold any fears for Otieno, and he moves along now to 44.
And there again, good running by the Kenyans. Moment Otieno played that on the onside. Odumbe called him for a single. And the pressure certainly on the Australian fielders.
Mark Taylor just making some adjustments now with Odumbe on strike. The adjustments being made to the onside field.
And there again, cut away on the offside for a single. Odumbe, 112 for 2. Kenya losing those 2 early wickets, but then this partnership helping them consolidate. And there again, Odumbe playing it on the onside, only for a single. In spite of losing those 2 early wickets, they've taken the attack to the Australian bowlers. Have not hesitated in playing their shots. Asking rate still over 7 runs per over.
Yes, the problem for Kenya is they've got a huge total to chase. They've got to keep up a high run rate and not lose too many wickets. And you get the feeling that both these batsmen are tiring a little in the heat and the humidity.
Down the track comes Otieno there and smashes it straight down the ground. His intention was clear. Mohamed Steve Waugh bowled that ball and he found the gap to perfection.
That's an excellent shot. He's picked a slower ball. Don't know whether he picked it in the runner, but it was either just extreme good fortune or he picked it very early, but he was always coming at that slower delivery.
There again, very good running, slight bit of indecision there, and this could cost him his wicket. 50 to Otieno. Really has been a fine innings. The crowd warming up to the Kenyans. Otieno's first 50 in one-day cricket. And the crowd here really loving every moment of it.
Well, that's the first half-century for Kenya in World Cup cricket. We had Holland yesterday chalking up their first one, and then that was scored by Van Noordweg. And then that was followed by young Baz Zyderant getting a half-century for Holland. No ball called there by umpire Mitchley. And now today we have Kenya chalking up their first half-century at this level. So the ICC associate countries doing well, not beating any of the big-name sides, but certainly not being disgraced.
Well, on the evidence of this performance from the Kenyans, they've certainly done a fine job. Played the bowling on merit and never afraid to play the shots. David Shepherd, the umpire at square leg. Down the track again, and he found the gap. Glenn McGrath coming in from long off. Cutting off that ball which would have gone over the fence. 9 of the over, 113 for 2. His first half-century in one-day cricket. And the captain, Maurice Odumbe, giving him fine support on 41 after McDermott and Rifle had picked up 2 early wickets for Australia. And now Shane Warne to continue.
Just shows you how fickle sports fans are. Earlier on, the crowd were having a great time with Shane Warne, screaming out, "We want Warnie," and Shane Warne was reacting positively to the crowd. Now they're screaming out, "We want a sixer," and Shane Warne is the bowler.
Well, they always favour the underdog, the crowds here. A loud appeal there from Shane Warne was the flipper. Maurice Odumbe was playing well forward.
And a fairly good pace forward it was.
Tossed up by Shane Warne, inviting Otieno to go over the top, but missing it completely on this occasion.
One of the reasons why Shane Warne is such a fine bowler, any type of cricket, but even more so than probably most leggies in one-day cricket, because he's prepared to experiment a little bit one-day games.
There again, tossing it up as the ball has got older. Shane Warne has been able to extract some spin out of this wicket.
to bowl with a bit of variety in a one-day game. He's not constrained by the idea that he has to just contain batsmen. He's quite prepared to try and buy a wicket.
And his batsmen have given him a big score to bowl at. Australia scoring 304 today. There again, beautifully bowled by Warne. Only a single there for Otieno. One of the over, 114 for 2. Steve Waugh to continue. And Otieno there driving him on the offside. Only for a single.
Otieno just looking a little tired, and I guess because they don't have the experience of playing against top-level sides all the time, there's not that the knowledge of how to fight through a period where you are a little tired.
And this is beautifully played by Odumbe. Waited on it and tapped him down to third man for a single.
Batsmen will quite often find that he feels like he's getting tired, and he just has a bit of a breather by just pushing a few singles, not running too hard for a couple of overs, and you always seem to get what they talk about as being the second wind. That's what Otieno's got to try and do.
And he smashed that through the onside, but straight to the fielder in the deep. Ricky Ponting it is, and only a single. That's right, Ian, we saw that with Mark Waugh today when he was batting. There was a stage when one felt that he was feeling the heat, but then he gathered himself, picked up some singles, and then, like you said, the second win. Went on from there to make a fine 100. But it's not Mark Waugh, it's Odumbe on strike now. Pulled away on the onside, getting a faint inside edge, and the ball racing away to fine leg for 4. 121 for 2 Kenya.
I must say they're certainly not being intimidated by the Australian bowling. They're setting out as though they have every confidence that they can reach that score of 305 that they need to win the game.
Well, this partnership now worth 91 runs. Down the track comes the captain again. Steve Waugh on this occasion, following him.
A lot of wrist work in the batting of Maurice Odumbe. Reminds me a lot of the good players from the subcontinent who are very good, wristy players.
And there again, nicely played on the onside. Only for a single, so 8 of that over for Kenya, 122 for 2. So 25 overs gone, another 25 to go, Warne to continue. It'll be interesting to see how Maurice Odumbe tackles Shane Warne now. Warne has been giving the ball a little bit more air in the last couple of overs.
We've got a budding Stevie Wonder down in front of us. He's had the mouth organ working away with regularity here in the second half of this match, particularly as the Kenyan batsmen have started to play a lot of shots. He's got the crowd really going with that harmonica.
He's doing a good job too. Short outside the off stump, nicely cut away. The offside by Odumbe, only for a single.
Very impressed with the footwork of Odumbe. Into excellent position to play Shane Warne off the back foot, and I think that's important when you're batting against Shane Warne.
That's right, Ian. It's so important to be decisive in your footwork, and that's one thing these Kenyans have shown, that either played fully forward or when the ball's been shot, it's gone right back on that back foot. They've never been in that in-between position of not being able to use their feet.
Yes, I think to play Shane Warne successfully or reasonably successfully, you've got to be able to score well off the back foot against Shane. And Odumbe has impressed me with his footwork and the way he's played him off the back foot.
Fine over there from Shane Warne, just the one run of the over, 123 for 2. Maurice Odumbe, too short of his half-century. Really has been a fine innings. Kennedy Otieno already passed the half-century mark. And now there's a change in the bowling. Mark Waugh replacing his brother.
Good start, ready?
And this is where Mark Taylor has so many options. With the all-rounders on the Australian side, he can always fall back on bowlers like Mark Waugh. Played away on the offside there by Odumbe for a single. People in India have been used to seeing Mark Waugh bowling seam up, but he started bowling off breaks this season for Australia, and he's done a reasonable job.
Yes, he's still not a front line off spinner.
They're again giving it air, but a lot of room there for Otieno, and he makes no mistake in smashing it back for a point for 4. 127 for 2.
And I think the Australians may rue the fact that they didn't pick Tim May and give themselves the option of a second frontline spinner. It's all right to have somebody who's a part-timer and have them on bowling a few overs for you. Mark Waugh can do that sort of job, but I think there are times when you need, particularly on the subcontinent, and particularly a couple of these sides that Australia might meet in the final stages of the competition, who don't play spin well.
Down the track comes Otieno again, but only managing to find the fielder at long on, Shane Warne. You did right, Ian, because that by having another spinner that would certainly take the pressure off Shane Warne, would allow him to be a lot more relaxed and bowl. End of that Mark Waugh over, 6 runs coming off that, 129 for 2. So 176 runs more required of 23 overs for the Kenyans. The run rate 4.77 per over, but the required run rate is the important thing, 7.65. And a bowling change now. Shane Warne has given way to Michael Bevan. Drifting down leg stump, Otieno quick to pounce on that, but only a single. And the 100 partnership coming up with that single. So after those 2 early wickets, these 2 batsmen doing a fine job for Kenya.
Bevan bowling his left-arm Chinaman.
And that's Odumbe's 50. Been a captain's innings from him, and the crowd here giving him a big hand, and well-deserved too.
Yes, that's an impressive innings. And now Kenya have joined Holland. They had 2 half-century makers yesterday. Now Odumbe makes 2 for Kenya today. And this has been against some good bowling, and they've played well.
No. Babeb.
That's right, Maurice Odumbe came into bat when the pressure was on after those 2 early wickets had fallen. But right from the very beginning, he wasn't hesitant in playing his shots, and certainly took the attack to the opposition. They're again trying to run it down on the offside.
Oh, it's quite a good, quicker one, Michael Bevan.
This time played on the offside only for a single by Otieno.
Kenyans playing good cricket. They've impressed with their skills and also their knowledge of the game. Look like they've been well coached.
That's driven in the air. A man coming in at long off, making no mistake. Paul Rifle, the catcher. So Kenya loses its third wicket. Otieno gone, 132 for 3.
Yes, that's been looming for a while now. He's been tiring Otieno and starting to look for boundaries consistently. In fact, it's Odumbe that's holed out. Paul Rifle, an excellent outfielder, judging that one extremely well. So the captain has gone for a half century. Kenya 132 for 3.
Hitesh Modi, the new batsman in, left-hander, coming in at the fall of Maurice Odumbe's wicket. Played just the 2 matches for Kenya. Has a fair job on his hands now because Kenya have lost their captain after playing a fine innings. And umpire David Shepherd there signaling wide, but this is the wicket of Odumbe, trying to hit the ball over extra cover, not quite finding the gap, and Paul Rifle making no mistake. That really was a fine innings from the Kenyan captain.
Oh, ball pretty.
Yes, he just tired a little Odumbe and wasn't able to see his way through that period and get a second win. I guess that's where the lack of hard cricket comes in. When you're playing against tough cricket teams all the time, it's something that you can learn. Australia obviously has plenty of tough cricket. Kenya needs to have a little more.
Mark Waugh keeping the pressure on the new batsman Hitesh Modi. He knows that he's the new man in, and he's off the mark.
Yes, Michael Bevan does a very good job as a change bowler. He quite often comes on and gets a wicket, which puts the team back into a position, if not strength, at least it certainly gives the captain a few more options.
Down the track comes Otieno, straight to the man at the point. Shane Lee, the fielder. That's right, when Michael Bevan does come on to bowl, the opposition batsmen think he's going to bowl just 2 or 3 overs. They want to score as many runs as possible, and more often than not, lose their wicket.
Yes.
A good over from Mark Waugh comes to an end. 3 of that over, 135 for 3 Kenya. This wicket, Michael Bevan to continue. Tell you more about it. It's going to be Tony Greig, and with him Sonny Gavaskar.
Look at Ravi. That one smashed away down towards deep mid-wicket. These Kenyans doing very well indeed. Certainly Maurice Odumbe has got some talent. 50 or 53 balls he's scored, and out there Otieno at the moment 63 of 105 balls. He's been just a little bit slower, but he's played very well indeed. It's been an impressive performance. That's on the full toss, and he's got that one away through the offside field. Problems, however, that these sides have is with depth. While in the early days of their development in this form of cricket, they certainly throw up some good players at the top end. The tough part is when it comes to the middle order. The same, of course, applies to the bowlers. A couple of good bowlers, but then things fall away a bit, Sonny.
Yes, I think that's the normal problem that teams coming into international cricket face. The fact that they do not have quality all-rounders. If they had quality all-rounders, Australia could make a change, because then a couple of good all-rounders batting at number 7 and 8, or even 6 and 7, can make a big difference to the side. but teams like Kenya, UAE, Holland have found that they have got some good batsmen at the top of the order, good bowlers to start with, but nothing to keep the pressure on.
I'll tell you what is vitally important for these sides that come into these sorts of competitions. It's vitally important that they have a positive approach to the whole thing. They go out there and play a few shots, be attacking. That's what the Sri Lankans have been, and I think they've benefited from that approach. If you really go at it, I think there's always a chance that you're going to win a match or two, you're going to play some good cricket, and of course you're going to bring on some of the youngsters too, because it's going to be enjoyable.
Oh.
Very, very warm out there at the moment. Have a look at Glenn McGrath. Look at his trousers there. Absolutely sweat just pouring off him. You can see his shirt is absolutely soaked. His trousers are soaked as well, right down to below the knees.
It's over.
That's the end of the over. 141 for 3. 64. It's off about 120 odd deliveries. They've got to strike at 8.4 runs and over to win this match now. So the Aussies have pretty well got it under control as a result of the big score they've made. Having said that, the Kenyans haven't let themselves down here today. They've done well. And that one's going a long way. It's going to go over the top. No, it's not. Yes, it is. It's a six. That's the long boundary down there. Our cameraman stayed with it. So did Ricky Ponting. Right onto the fence down there. And it just went over his head.
Yes, Kennedy Otieno coming down. I think he was a little beaten by the ball. It didn't come into the slot, but he still carried on with that shot.
I'm not sure that he shouldn't have caught that, you know. Top-class fieldsman. I noticed coming down steeply. He was about 2 meters in from the line, from the rope down there. Let's have another look at it, just to have a look at the catch here. Quite difficult, I know, but went high up. He's played that one on the offside as well. McGrath's in there. He'll pick it up. He's a good fieldsman, Glenn McGrath. Has a good arm, too. Now, Ponting also, fantastic fieldsman. He was there. He thought he had it covered, and then all of a sudden, he realized it was going over his head. It was up for a long time.
Over ball.
It's the end of the over. 8 runs from it. 149 for 3.
Wow.
One played away on the onside, mid-on, wide mid-on, running around to pick it up, and yeah, picks it up comfortably. So let's have another look at this Ponting effort. Out in the deep for the big hit.
Well, we saw Vinod Kambli in the match at Hyderabad, positioning himself brilliantly. But here, I think Ponting's got in all sorts of bother. When you're out on the boundary and you're conscious of the fact that you have to catch it and not go over it, sometimes the fielders tend to take the easy way out and let it go over your head.
Oh, and he's trying to have a go, trying to hit that one straight down the ground and missed it completely. Now, the all-important thing here is the run rate. He's missed that by a long way.
I don't think he picked it up. It was the wrong one from Michael Bevan. And they're throwing their bats because of that run rate.
Oh, that's in the air. And it's going to go into the gap again. Well, what an unorthodox shot that was. I think he was about to pull it to square leg, thinking it was a leg break. As it turned out, it was a googly from the Chinaman bowler. And he hit it straight up in the air.
Well, if Asif Karim had played that shot, one could have understood it because he's represented Kenya in tennis. More like a tennis shot that. So I guess Otieno also had a chance of playing for his country. If he plays like this at tennis.
Swept away. That area is covered. Warren getting a nasty bounce. This outfield's rough. He did well there, got all his body behind that one. No way in the world it was going to get through. Otieno getting that one away on the offside for one. He'll retain the strike. It's 154 for 3. $154 for 3. The Kenyans getting a little refreshment out there. I think a bit of cramp is beginning to set in. Probably a few of those. Well, we used to take salt tablets, but I'm sure they're far more sophisticated these days. So there's the comparison. You see, there's not really much in it. Oh. Difference, I suppose, is the depth of that Australian lineup. That's in the air. It's going straight down the ground. I think it's going to be safe again. Well, a few mishits resulting in the ball bouncing halfway to the fieldsmen who have been placed deep for the catch.
Otieno is quickly running out of gas out there, so he's trying to throw his bat with just about everything, hoping that it'll connect. He doesn't really want to take too many quick runs because that's going to sap his energy further. And of course the run rate means that they have to throw their bats and get the odd boundary, if not the sixer.
Yes, it's very energy sapping weather. Perhaps he should try and play the sweep shot a bit. Get a good firm sweep shot going. And there's definitely a lot of power sapping associated with being out there for any length of time. 77 he's got. And he's been out there for 133 minutes, so over 2 hours.
Just the problem when chasing a big score and in weather like this is that you want to keep the scoreboard ticking. You don't want too many dot balls, but every time you take even a reasonably comfortable single, it's taking something out of you.
Oh,
That's well bowled. Kenya, 155 for 3. Best mangoes in the world come from, I think it's around about sunny Gavaskar area. That one's hit to mid-wicket and dropped. Well, very firmly hit, and you don't often see Steve Waugh drop catches.
Yes, Otieno backing that away. And it's at an awkward height. And Otieno, I think, is probably cramped up. That's what Ian Healy's trying to do, trying to relieve the cramp.
Well, this guy will fix it, I'll tell you that. He'll bend that ankle of his back that hard. And the first thing he'll do, of course, is loosen the pad to get some blood supply going. Got to keep an eye on this. He's already fixed the bowler, no trouble at all. A lot of bending of the knee, fixed the knee up, no trouble of the off spinner, Asif Karim, but he looks as if he's in trouble now.
Well, what he needs to do is actually get himself a runner, so he will conserve his energies. No point running those singles at this point of time. Bring the runner on and get a bit of rest.
And while he's getting himself fixed up there, we might get back to those mangoes, Sonny. Those Alfonso mangoes, they reckon are pretty hot from the hang on, it's not the Bombay area now, it's the Mumbai area, right?
Yes, and while you're calling it Mumbai, you might as well call it Hapus, because that's what it is called. Alfonso is the anglicized name for the mango.
So you've got lovely Hapusas over in Mumbai, is that right?
No, it's in the Konkan area, not in Mumbai.
Well, they tell me on that subject that they have some very good mangoes here, and I know one thing, it's a certainty. For my sweet tonight, I'm having some of those they call Mambadai Kaialu mangoes, and they export them from this area. So might have to have a go at them this evening.
Well, I join you in that as well, because it's the first time I've heard of this variety of the mango. Mango is very, very rare because it's a very seasonal fruit. That's why when it does come into the market, it is expensive. It's an expensive fruit, not a cheap fruit. Very, very sweet. But of course, when it's raw, it's not exactly very sweet, and it's used in the raw form to make chutney or for the pickles.
So that great mango chutney that we have with our curry is made from the raw mangoes.
That's absolutely right, and it is called kari then.
Well, while all this has been happening out in the centre, it looks as if we've got a problem out there to Odiengo. He's on 77 and has cramp trouble. The Australians have decided to take their drinks break, and we'll be back in a moment. 142 minutes in very sticky conditions, 119 balls, 8 fours and a 6 so far. And that little break would have done him no end of good. So the run rate at the moment, 4.7. Not a bad effort by the Kenyans, but they need 8.85. That's the bad news. And unless they really get moving, it's going to go up and up fast. The Aussies, in the meantime, using the spinners at the moment. Outside off stump, umpire Shepherd having a long hard look at it but deciding to let it go. .33 overs. Australia made 304 for 7. Well, it's all happening to these Kenyans at the moment. If it's not cramp, it's laces coming loose, you name it. Odiengo. He's had a long day of it. He's kept wicket as well as ended up batting for quite a long time. Tremendous partnership between he and Maurice Odumbe, and what's more, he did keep well too. Took a magnificent catch which was eventually given not out, but it was a diving catch to his right of Stephen Waugh. And he got given the benefit of the doubt, Stephen Waugh. The replay showed he was out.
Well, Bev.
This Australian side with all the variations it's got when it comes to bowling. They've got obviously the 3 quicks, then of course the medium paces, all these spinners as well. That one's cut away nicely. It'll go for 4. It's running away to the fence. It's pretty fast and bumpy, this outfield. 6 runs from the over, 159 for 3. Great mates and a tremendous team spirit in this Kenyan camp. They've come out here full of enthusiasm, desperately keen to knock off one of the big guns. No one's done that so far in this tournament. Well, there they are, despite the fact that Kenya are getting beaten in this match as well. They look like getting beaten unless something magical happens out there. They're still all smiles. And still limping just a little bit, Odiengo. Question is, can he take his score to 100 and do it quickly?
This was a fairly relaxed too, so wasn't so much of a problem, wasn't asking too much of his body.
That run rate's over 9 now, and it's going up by half a run per over almost. Really blowing out. Yes, they can't draw this match. They may as well go for it now with Gay abandoned. Obviously, when the batsman's struggling a little bit, limping away, he is down there, so he's struggling to come back for the second. You can see he's bent over in half again. Question is, What can he do? He's hit that one down the ground. This is coming all the way. It's dead straight. It won't quite get there. One bounce. Shane Warne, the fieldsman.
Well, after hitting that ball, Otieno didn't even attempt to run. He thought it was going to go for a boundary. There were two in it. But he really is struggling out there, and I think it's about time he called for a runner.
Well, it looks as if Otieno is about to leave the ground. He just can't go on. I think he's of the view that they're better off sending someone else out there. He can get him some salt down himself and perhaps come back out.
Well, that's very unusual. He's the man who's well set. He's got 82 against his name, and he should stay at the wicket and ask for a runner. But by retiring, what he's doing is he's allowing a fresh batsman to come in. And the batsman may be fresh, but he's not set.
166 for 3. Mentioned that it was unusual. Certainly is unusual for a batsman in form to go off, but it seems to me that he was in all sorts of trouble. By the time he got to the end, just watch him here. He gets out there and he trips and falls down. And his problem really there was getting up. They actually carried him into the dressing room. And they're really struggling. So Otieno absolutely, totally and utterly sapped of all energy. So Edward O'Dumbe out there now. He's out there with Hatish Modi. Oh, he's bowled him round his legs. Well, he's gone to paddle that one away down towards square leg. Cannot believe it, actually, looking down at those stumps. And the bails have gone flying in all directions. That's 167 for 4.
Well, Hitesh Modi trying to sweep a ball which was too close to him. The ball going around his legs, behind his legs, bowling him. That's a pretty useful wicket once again. Michael Bevins got his second wicket. And Kenya 167 for 4.
That ball really did spin back a long way around the back of the legs of Hatish Modi. Oh, and that one bounced a little bit. He didn't look as if he really knew which way that was going.
Well, Michael Bevins certainly is proved to be a very useful spare bowler. And on the wickets out here, he'll have an important role to play.
Yes, it came back a long way, actually hit the middle stump. So quite good bowling. You could see that little puff of dust as it turned. Good bowling. These lower order batsmen now will have a problem reading. And there's an example of it. Playing for the leg spinner or playing for the one that spins back in. Missed it completely. 167 for 5. $167 for 4, actually, not 5. And And we're going to see McGrath back into the attack now. On his way. Adombe getting himself one. So David Tokolo now on strike. 168 for 4.
Kenya suddenly find that they've got 2 new batsmen at the wicket. Otieno retiring hurt and Modi being bowled.
That's not bad. Just steered away down to third man. So David Tokolo gets himself a single. Well, things just quietening down a little bit now as this crowd realises that Kenya are going to struggle to get to the Australian total. They're going to struggle to get close to the Australian total of 304 for 7. As that was through him before he realised. That line outside off stumps to place the bowl. He's already got one to move away quite sharply. You see that one just went away just fractionally outside off stump. Edward Adombe. So the Australians really turning the screw now. Just to give you an idea of exactly the situation, that's their score. They need 136 more off that number of overs. And have a look at the required run rate. It's gone over 10 now. So they've got them nailed to the wall. For 4. They've gone a little bit quiet, although it is a full house. They were very noisy when these Kenyans were putting together that really good partnership. 102. Well, that's well bowled. It's also a tidy over. 2 runs from it, 169 for 4. Michael Bevan is going to continue. And in the commentary box now, Robbie Shastri and Ian Chappell.
Thanks, Tony. Well, Bevan mightn't have had much success with the bat, but he's had a bit of success with the ball, which is important for the Australians. He's another one of the part-time spinners that gives Mark Taylor a few options. And he doesn't often let anyone down. Michael Bevan with the ball quite often gets the breakthrough when he comes on to bowl.
He certainly does mix it up. That's Michael Bevan. Bowls the Chinaman, the one that goes straight through with the arm, and adds a bit of variety to the Australian attack.
5 wickets for Michael Bevan during the World Series competition. Mark Taylor has a lot of confidence in him. He's quite often used him in tight situations. And he's the sort of cricketer who has responded to that confidence. And now he looks not only as though he can spin the ball and get a breakthrough, but he lands the ball pretty regularly for a guy who bowls in perhaps the most difficult style of them all.
Well, it certainly is a difficult art, and one has noticed that Michael Bevan, as this spell of his has continued, has started bowling a lot more accurately. He started hitting the right spot, because when he started, it was a bit of a mixed bag, but now he's bang on target with most of his deliveries.
That was the wrong one. It's 172 for 4.
So these two batsmen, Tikolo and Odumbe, will have to consolidate again after Kenya lost the wicket of their captain, Morris Odumbe. And then, unfortunately, Kennedy Otieno had to retire hurt.
Palm trees swaying in the breeze there. It's been a breeze that would be appreciated by the players. It's been a very humid day. We've seen a couple of the batsmen look like they're fatigued out in the middle. Mark Waugh being one of them. He went on to make a century. A few fans fluttering there in the crowd, amongst the crowd, using scorecards and the cards with 4s and 6s on them just to keep the air moving in the stands. It's been a warm day for everyone. But the crowd seem to have enjoyed it. We've definitely got the cheer squad right in front of us here, Ravi.
And they've enjoyed every bit of it. They've supported the Kenyans. They've seen some very good cricket from the Kenyan batsmen, particularly Morris Odumbe and Kennedy Otieno. One would have imagined the Australians rolling over the Kenyans, but the Kenyan team have certainly put up a good show today.
Yes, we have all the different ways of getting the crowd going. You see Kensington Oval in Barbados, where you have Mac Bingle and his drums, and here in Vizag, you've got the guy with his harmonica who really gets the crowd moving along. Used to be King Dial as well at Kensington Oval in Barbados. And then you have the conch shell player at Queen's Park Oval in Trinidad. All adds to the colour at a cricket match. Chicky's Disco in Antigua is another lively spot. Trouble with Chicky's Disco is when you go to, after a long day's commentary and you need a nice cold drink at the end of the day, Chicky's Disco is hammering away till about 3 hours after the day's play is finished, right next to the bar where you want to go and have a cool drink.
They certainly do enjoy the cricket, the West Indians. Very lively crowd.
Mark Waugh getting a bad bounce there. I must say the Sri Lankan crowds added a lot to the atmosphere in Australia, and I was really looking forward to going to Colombo. I got the opportunity to hear a bit of and see a bit of the match in Colombo, Zimbabwe and Sri Lanka, and the bands didn't stop playing all day there.
That's right. They're very similar to the West Indian crowds, Sri Lankans. They love their music, and they come to the ground with all the bands playing.
It's 174 for 4. Michael Bevan continues. He's picked up 2 wickets. David Tikolo on strike now. Kenyans with a pretty respectable run rate there, 4.44. It's just that they were chasing so many, with Australia scoring 307. I think that 304 target, the original target was 305.
Ball, Bev.
This now is a huge ask for the Kenyans, but they haven't disgraced themselves by any means. What they need is a few more trips overseas to get the exposure, get some good tough match practice, and they should soon be a side to contend with.
Just to be fair to all the ICC associate countries, they did say coming into this tournament that they've been disappointed that they couldn't get more cricket against the test-playing countries. They felt that more should have been done to organise that. Hopefully that problem will be solved in the next few years. It's 177 for 4.
Michael Bevan, he's done a good job for his captain Mark Taylor here by adding variety to the attack, bowling his Chinamen as well as the wrong ones, and as the match has progressed, as his spell has progressed, he's bowled a very good line and length.
Kenya 177 for 4 with 10 overs to be bowled. I say, Ravi, one thing that is different to the Caribbean is some pretty good vantage points around the ground here, with buildings just high enough so that you could get up on top and watch the cricket. In the Caribbean, I think most of those have been taken, but not here in Vizag.
That's right. Maybe if India were playing here today, you might have had a bigger crowd. But in the West Indies, these coconut trees all around the ground, and wherever the crowd can sit, they don't waste an opportunity.
Yes, we got an admission out of Clive Lloyd when we were in the Caribbean in 1991. He said that as a youngster, you'd probably know that that great big tree out the back there at the border ground. Lloyd, he reckons, is about an 11-year-old. That's where he started watching his cricket and got his ambition that he wanted when he grew up. He wanted to be out there in the middle, and I guess so many youngsters get their inspiration to become international cricketers from coming along and watching the cricket, seeing somebody that they admire or that they idolise, and they then set their targets on playing at international level.
Absolutely right. I think most cricketers who played for the country, at least for India, have been sitting in one of the stands of a test match when they were young. Coming back to Clive Lloyd, who sat on that tree as an 11-year-old, I'm sure he's hit quite a few deliveries in that direction when he's been batting at the border.
Quite happily admit that Keith Miller was my idol as a youngster. Dad used to take me to the cricket and tell me to watch Keith Miller, and that was only a pleasure. Did you have somebody that you responded to when you were young, Ravi?
Yes, Ian, my hero was G.R. Vishwanath, and in fact he made his debut in the series against you when you were the captain. In fact, you were just telling me the other day he got out for naught in the first innings, and you dropped him on naught in the second innings, and he went on to make 100. Good for that, because he really was my idol.
Another single there to Kenya. Well, I knew that I made Vishy very happy because, as you say, he went on to get 137 in that innings, and then he had a test career well and truly underway. So I'm delighted that I pleased you, and it gave you the inspiration to go on and be a test cricketer.
Certainly did. He really was a class player, very wristy player, G.R. Vishwanath. Different from Sunil Gavaskar in many ways. Sunil was the most solid type, but Vishy, the moment he came in, wasn't afraid to play shots.
It's 178 for 4. Kenya 178 for 4. 41 overs have been bowled. You were just talking about Ganduppa Vishwanath, Ravi, and comparing his style to Sunny Gavaskar. He did have one thing in common with Sunny. They are brother-in-laws.
Certainly are, and of similar height as well, though if you ask Sunny, he'll always say Vishy is the shorter man.
The Australians would have enjoyed this workout. That's exactly what they needed after a lot of net practice. That can become tedious, mainly because players want to see some results when they look up on the scoreboard or in the scorebook. So the Australians needing this game probably would feel that they'd like to have one more tough outing before they actually came up against India, but obviously forfeiting the match to Sri Lanka. They didn't get that opportunity for getting through the field. But that'll be a good encounter and a very tough encounter for Australia-India at Mumbai.
That's right, Ian. This game should help them a lot. It was similar to the Indians. When they played Kenya, they really didn't fire on all cylinders, but they certainly looked the part when they beat the West Indies the other night. I think the Australians won't be far different. This would just be the sort of game that would get them into the groove.
Good ball.
So I think the Indians will be slightly better prepared as come back for 2. Slightly better prepared because they've had that tough encounter with the West Indies. That could have got a bit tight if Courtney Brown had taken the Skyer and got rid of Sachin Tendulkar, and things could have been even tighter. But India, having had that tough workout prior to the Australian game, I think will be perhaps a little better prepared. Once again, looking for 2. Glenn McGrath in quickly this time. It's 186 for 4. Kenya 186 for 4. 8 overs to be bowled. Australia made 304 for 7. So 119 more runs needed from 48 balls. That they won't get, but Kenya have put up a good fight, particularly in the early to middle overs. They really challenged the Australian bowlers. Paul Rifle now is coming on to replace placing Glenn McGrath. Rifle bowled his early overs from the far end. He's now on at the pavilion end.
The Australian bowling figures for you. Craig McDermott, before he got injured, picked up that 1 wicket. Paul Rifle also picking up 1 wicket for 17 runs. But Michael Bevan, the most successful, 2 for 35 in 8 overs. Well, there's going to be a big burden on the shoulders of Paul Rifle and Glenn McGrath, especially with Craig McDermott being injured.
This match, Australia versus Kenya, is a Group A match. 6 teams in each group in this World Cup competition. That's for the round robin stage, and then we move into the quarter-final stage with 4 from each group going through. And the matches that we'll be seeing in the Wills World Cup on the wide world of sports on the weekend are Group B matches. Pakistan, their first encounter in the competition. They come up against UAE at Gujranwala. That's in Pakistan. Javed Miandad playing for Pakistan, only man to play in all 6 World Cups. England versus South Africa, that's on Sunday from Rawalpindi. Also in Pakistan, England versus South Africa. Should be a good match, although England are battling a bit and they have a few injured players. They're not playing in the greatest of form. And then the next Australian encounter will be the one we've been talking about in Mumbai. They're talking about that being Shane Warne versus Sachin Tendulkar, but it's, in actual fact, in reality, it's Australia versus India. Tuesday, 27th of February from Mumbai, which you probably would recognise more easily as Bombay. That's a day-nighter coming from the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. Should be a tremendous encounter. And you'll also be seeing that on Star Television and TVNZ and Sky Channel and SABC. So this Wills World Cup is certainly doing the rounds, and that's also a good thing, Ravi, for cricket. More people you get seeing it, and I guess the fact that television has expanded so much, I think has helped to expand the cricket world, and we're seeing that with 12 nations here.
Yes, Ian, we could certainly do with that. We've seen how television attracts other sports. Sports like basketball and surfing have got huge audiences, and if cricket is being watched in so many countries of the world, it's certainly a very good sign, because this game needs to be spread around, and the more countries you have, the better it is for the game.
Seven overs to go now. Kenya 187 for 4. And he and his ground staff produced a good pitch with quite a bit of bounce. So there's certainly been the opportunity for batsmen to play their shots, and the bowlers have got a little bit of bounce. Shane Warne now on at the city end. Just to have a few more overs and exercise those fingers. Curator or groundsman here, Ravi?
The Indian term is Mali, actually, but you can call him the groundsman. He's done a good job. We've already seen almost 500 runs scored here today. It was the same the last time around when India played the West Indies. It was a high-scoring game with over 500 runs scored, so Vizag does have a reputation of being a good batting track.
So the head Mali's done a good job then.
He's done a really good job. Beautifully bowled by Warne. Is extracting some spin from that track. Really gives the ball a tweak.
I guess talking about expansion, the next area of expansion, and Kenya, I think, is one area that Africa is expanding. Malaysia is going to be the next area, I guess, with the 1998 Commonwealth Games, including cricket there in KL, being Kuala Lumpur. It's 188 for 4.
And not to forget Singapore as well, Ian. There is going to be a tournament played there in the month of April. In fact, a proper cricket tournament where you have India, Pakistan and Sri Lanka involved in a triangular series. And that should really encourage a lot of people in Singapore to play the game.
Well, the Kenyan challenge has really slowed to a walk now, but their top order players did a terrific job. Kennedy Otieno played extremely well. He had to retire hurt eventually, which is a pity because he was well on target to be the first Kenyan player to score a century, which would have been a tremendous performance. And then Maurice Odumbe impressed everybody with his half-century. Mid-off, Glenn McGrath coming across, but it's going to be Michael Bevan who gets there first from mid-on, and a wicket to Paul Reichel.
So finally Odumbe's patience running out, trying to hit Reichel over mid-on and out of the ground, only managing to hit the ball high in the air, and Michael Bevan here taking a good catch. His eyes on the ball, no problem at all. 188 for 5, Kenya.
Well, we just talked about how Kennedy Otieno had an opportunity to score a century. First one in World Cup play for Kenya. And he's taking that opportunity now, coming back with just under 6 overs to be bowled. He's on 82, having retired hurt with cramp. So I'm glad they've taken the opportunity to send him out there again. He's limped out there and immediately dived back into the crease. I'm not sure how long he's going to last.
Well, this was the wicket of Edward Odumbe earlier, trying to clear the infield, but only finding Michael Bevan. So Kennedy Otieno has come to the crease after going off for cramps, but he certainly doesn't look in good shape out there. He may need a runner. One just wonders why he came out to bat without a runner.
Now Cyril Mitchley is not doing a little South African jig there. He's just signalling to the pavilion that Kennedy Otieno can have a runner, and I think that's good common sense from Cyril Mitchley. I think it would be wonderful for Kenyan cricket if he could reach a century, and I don't think the Australians will complain too much if Cyril Mitchley does use a bit of common sense here and allows him to have a runner. And this is the wicket that Paul Rifle picked up. Michael Bevan taking a comfortable catch there. Nice blue sky background to judge that catch. Paul Rifle, second victim for Paul Rifle, Edward Odumbe. Cyril Mitchley, after having made the decision, wandered over and just spoke to Mark Taylor, and I think just said to him, I've decided that there's going to be a runner, and Mark Taylor doesn't have any right to complain anyhow, but I don't think he's going to complain at all in that situation. Not suggesting for a moment that the Australians are going to let him get 100. If he gets 100, he'll earn it, but I think it is good common sense to let him have a runner.
I think he should have come out with a runner in the first place, but then he's played well enough to deserve 100 at this stage. And I think Cyril Mitchley, the umpire, has done the right thing by asking a runner to come out.
So the runner is taking a while to get all the gear on, and there's a bit of time before he gets out in the middle, and while that's happening, I'll take the opportunity for a change here. And just reminding you that the match is coming up, a couple in Group B, Pakistan versus UAE. That'll be Pakistan's first match in the competition because they've been celebrating Ramadan. And then it'll be England versus South Africa. That's on Sunday, 25th of February. All of these matches in the World Cup, and those games in Group B. And then we'll have Australia versus India next week, coming from Mumbai, being billed as Sachin Tendulkar versus Shane Warne. But I'm sure that many other players will have their say in what goes on in that contest, one that we're really looking forward to. And in the commentary position now, Sunil Gavaskar and Richie Benaud.
Thanks, Ian. Paul Rifle is the bowler. 188 for 5, and just going back to that match in Mumbai at the moment, they are talking about Tendulkar v Warne. I got another one for you. Mark Waugh against Anil Kumble, and that'll be quite a contest, I can assure you. There's lots of good cricket coming up in this World Cup now, apart from the match today, which has provided a great spectacle. Got that excellent game coming up between Australia and India. You got any others, Sunil? Tendulkar v Warne, Mark Waugh v Anu Kumble.
Taylor v Srinath. That should be interesting too, because Srinath gets the ball to move away from the left-hander. That might be interesting. I'm also looking forward to that game, apart from the individual contests that we are likely to be provided with. It is also the first time that there will be play under lights in Wankhede Stadium.
They tell me it's quite a stadium too. I only remember the old Brabourne, but this one over the years has had very good reports. The lights will be there now. Lights that have been in international cricket now for just on 20 years. Started with World Series cricket in Australia and improving all the time. $189 for 5. Shane Warne. He's bowled pretty well today. At his peak yet, which is quite a sensible way to be. Sweep shot's been employed quite regularly today. Just a reminder that there is a runner out there. The player going in at the moment, Otieno, Kennedy Otieno, who played really well early on until being injured. Not much room for manoeuvre for him now, but he does have the opportunity to make 100.
He's got to start all over again. However set a batsman is, if there is a break in play, a lot of batsmen tend to lose their rhythm. Batsmen who play well before lunch sometimes find it difficult to get the same kind of form immediately after lunch.
Well, that was the real quick flipper Warne bowls. He is trying to bowl a second one as well. He's a great experimenter.
Ball was on him even before he had completed that shot.
Ball, Shine.
He's a fascinating bowler to watch, Shane Warne. Got so much variety.
Keeper!
Just coming towards the end of the 46th over now. Warne's getting himself into something of a rhythm, though, as I say, not at his peak yet. But his length has improved as the game has gone on, and that was an absolute cracker, 191 for 5. Good terms with both Mark Waugh and the crowd in the background. They've been calling for Warne all day. They got him with the bat, but he was unable to make contact with the two balls he faced. $114 needed from 24 balls. Can't be done, but it's been a good performance from the Kenyans. They've worked hard and they've shown plenty of skills out there. More to come in future years. Bit of a problem out there with the runner, but none with Shane Warne. He's got a big crowd down there, have been calling for him all day. And they've been able to see something quite worthwhile. The bowling figures for the Australians: McDermott off injured, torn calf muscle. Rifle 2 for 18 has bowled well. McGrath's bowled quite well. Now that's what we were talking about earlier about reverse swing, as this ball gets scuffed up, and a good example of it from McGrath.
Yes, the ball darting back in, with the ball completely scuffed up. There really is no chance of movement in the air in this part of the world, but Rifle getting the ball to move in a fair bit.
Yeah, but safe. Yes, that reverse swing in conditions of this kind, where the scuffing comes along and bowlers know they've got to rely on change of pace towards the end of the innings or swing, it shows up that the bowler confuses the batsman by the normal outswing looking delivery, but the ball actually swings back in, or swerves back in, is probably closer to it. This is the first run out for the Australians, first run they've had since being over here. Shane Warne's probably been the best of them. Once he's settled out, a couple of overs where he's feeling his way, but he's starting to bowl well now. Bevan did a good job, 8 overs, 2 for 35. Mark Wall, 5 overs for 23, but Steve went for 43 in 7. $193 for 5. That's Shane Warne. Let's see what he can do in this over. Well, the answer is he's bowled a few today, but none of them are gone for what's on the left of the sign.
Oh, good line. Oh, that's much better.
Well, the voice you heard there was that of Ian Healy. And a wicketkeeper keeps a very close eye on the bowler, not just the way the ball's coming down the pitch, but particularly the way it's coming out of his hand. And that was, that's much better. I don't know how bad it was before, mind you.
Spin it up.
The Indian version is Shabash Shabash, which is merely encouraging the bowler to keep going. Shane Warne certainly has bowled well here. We saw that sign suggesting that he would go for 65 runs against India.
195 for 5. A 95 for 5. 110 needed. They're not going to get those, which is quite obvious in the card. And even more obvious now, he's spread eagle the timber everywhere. That's one of the best balls we've seen all day.
Kennedy Otieno coming back after that injury, hoping to get not only his individual 100, but perhaps to get the Kenyan team a little closer to the Australian score. But that perfect Yorker has wasted all his plans. And he's probably saying well bowled to Glenn McGrath. Kenya 195 for 6.
And I hope McGrath said well batted to him as well. Thomas Adoyo coming in now at number 8 for Kenya. It's been quite a good performance. They got stuck in the middle, and Warren, as he's done to a lot of good sides over the years, has first of all tied them down and then made them a little desperate, and they haven't been able to break the shackles. Good combination, Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. McGrath with his Yorkers and Warne with his spin. He's tried it again, and all he's got for his pains is a straight down the ground boundary.
But this one was a much slower Yorker than the one that got Otieno. And we can see how he got Kennedy Otieno. This was definitely a quicker one, perfectly pitched. But it once again tells you that if a batsman is well set, he might as well carry on even if there's an injury. Get a runner, but carry on. And Otoyo getting another boundary, this time even beating the wicket keeper. When a batsman is set, he's well advised to carry on. Even if there's a little break, it can upset the concentration, the rhythm. And that's what Otieno found out when he came into bat after having retired.
One of the things that has helped the Australians this afternoon has been the breeze that came up. We're not far from the sea here, and it's the same sort of breeze, not quite a Fremantle Doctor as you have in Perth in Australia, or the nor'easter or the sou'easter that might blow at the SCG. But very, very welcome out there. And here it blows pretty much straight down the ground, which meant that when McGrath came back, he had it right at his back, perhaps coming over his right shoulder a fraction. And when Warne bowled, he was coming up into it. You can't have much better than that. There's been quite a bit of fumbling out there. It's quite true. There's a bit of bounce there, but there has been 205 for 6. Shane Warne is the bowler. That's a pretty good stroke against the flipper. didn't phase the batsman at all. In fact, it was one of the lower trajectories, get a skid a bit.
And you can see that extra effort, not just from the shoulder, but from the fingers as well.
We've seen that happen on many occasions. Ian Healy is in the game out there. He got a catch early on when he got Chudasama for 5, and now he's there with the stumping, and Shane Warne is the bowler.
When the tailenders are out to bat, Ian Healy must be all systems alert, particularly when Shane Warne's bowling. Going for the big one, not getting anywhere near the pitch of the ball, and Ian Healy has an easy stumping. Kenya 206 for 7. The flipper followed by the well-flighted delivery, and it has Thomas Odoyo back in the pavilion. Stumped Healy, bowled Warne.
He's just starting to pitch it properly now, Shane Warne. Just a little bit scrappy early on. Again, it's a case of match practice or lack of it. It's all right going out and bowling in the nets. You can be a champion there. Well, Warne's a champion anywhere. But you do need match practice. Now, Martin Suji comes out. Bowled well in the early overs against the Australians. Finished up with 2 wickets. He got Steve Waugh at the end of Waugh's brilliant 82, and he had Mark Taylor early on. This is Warne bowling to him.
How was that?
Last ball of the match coming up, unless Shane Warne bowls a no ball or wide. Kenya 206 for 7. And they'll pick up just the single there to take them to 207 for 7. The Australians winning the match quite comprehensively.
Well, the Kenyan challenge started quite well, but they simply ran out of ideas once their captain Maurice Odombe was out. 304 was always going to be a big ask.